of its citizens standing ready.
Warning the West since he took office that there is a worldwide network of fanatical terrorists funded primarily by drug money. They're fighting in Chechnya, he claims, and are responsible for a wave of apartment house bombings that hit Russia 2 years ago. But the West, Moscow says, spent too much time scolding Russia for how it dealt with the threat.
I think now they understand that it is not just our internal issue. It's a problem for the entire international community.
Evil must be punished, says the Russian president.
But we should not become like bandits that act from behind a corner. We should consider our decisions and proceed from true facts.
The attacks in the United States, he says, could be compared in scale and cruelty to what the Nazis were perpetrating. I feel guilty for what has happened, Vladimir Putin says. We spoke so much about this threat, but apparently not enough. Jill Doherty, CNN, Moscow.
Well, the attacks and the ensuing fallout have hit the airline industry especially hard.
Yeah, the airlines are saying they're losing millions of dollars, and though they're now flying again, all are operating on reduced schedules. As Bruce Francis tells us, it's led to one announcing massive layoffs, and it seems others are certain to follow.
Continental Airlines says it is furloughing 12,000 employees, more than a fifth of its workforce, as it cuts 20% of its schedule.
Continental's just getting early. We're not going to be bankrupt first, I'll tell you that. But we're going to be first to move to prevent it. And I think that's a prudent thing to do.
Northwest is also cutting its schedule by 20%, although it hasn't announced any job reductions. Most airlines are flying reduced schedules right now, but at a heavy loss. The airline industry has been losing as much as $275 million a day since Tuesday's terrorist attacks. And even with most airports now open, the outlook is bleak, with passengers reluctant to fly. Airlines face further constraints as pilots are called up for military reserve. At the same time, the carriers are paying for increased security measures. That's why Bethune and others are calling for a government bailout.
I now, and we all of us, call on the President of the United States and members of our Congress to take immediate action to restore the stability of this vital industry.
A first attempt in Congress to provide $15 billion in assistance has failed. If the money is eventually approved, it may come too late for some airlines. Midway has already folded, and 7 of the top 10 U.S. airlines lost money in the second quarter. Prior to the attacks, the industry was on a course to lose $2 billion this year. Analysts now say that could soar to $10 billion.
The financial situation is such that I really expect 3 to 4 small carriers to file for bankruptcy in the coming weeks, and for the major airlines actually to lay off people. So it's a downward spiral.
Airline chiefs will get their chance to voice their concerns directly to the Bush administration. Next week, they're going to sit down with Transportation Secretary Norman Mineta, potentially on the agenda, beefing up security without scaring away an already nervous public. Bruce Francis, CNN Financial News, New York.
The New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ are scheduled to reopen for business on Monday. Now, tests that were conducted yesterday showed that the data and communication systems are operable, even though the New York Stock Exchange was only about 2 blocks away from the Twin Towers when they were hit. Now, the market's set to reopen 9:30 Monday morning. Members of the New York City Police and Fire Departments, Emergency Medical Service, and others are going to be there. They're going to be ringing the opening bell as one way of honoring those who lost their lives Tuesday.
And the attacks on the World Trade Center left thousands of families with more questions than answers, more worries than certainties. And as CNN's Candy Crowley learned, both the pain and the hope come from not knowing.
Yes, Dan? Yes, this is David Vincent.
He's an Eastman Kodak executive from Webster, New York. A man with a problem to solve, a man on a mission.
How is it being set up so that I can make the best use of my time? Because you're working a timeline here. You have to get to your daughter as fast as you can.
Melissa is missing. She's a technology recruiter at Alliance Consulting.
But we know that that's 102nd floor of Tower 1.
The enormity of what's happened in David Vincent's life shows on his face, but does not slow his step.
Please take a picture. Please focus on the picture. to get her face out there so that
working on 3 hours sleep and a couple of crackers, he protects his fondest hopes, battles his worst fears, and sometimes loses.
I don't have any video of her. To be honest with you, Melissa didn't like to be videoed. She used to holler at me every time I did. I'd give anything to have her holler at me right now.
I'd give anything, he says, to have her holler at me right now. It's a rare lapse. Mostly, there is a desperate monotony to his mission.
I know she made a 911 call at 9:02:07.
It's all that David Vincent knows about what happened to his eldest daughter. It's enough to hang hope on.
When we went back to the cell phone provider, the only thing that we had that they could tell us is that there was a 911 call made from that cell phone at 9:02, which was some 17 minutes after the jet had piled into the thing.
9:02:07. He tells it to everyone he talks to. He clings to it for dear life, because of course it is.
I need to know where she was when she made that call, because that will tell me whether she was downstairs just getting off the path and maybe in a void someplace downstairs, or whether I have to understand that she was upstairs on 102 and have to wonder whether she was able to get out or not able to get out.
By evening, David Vincent has pretty much worn out the corner of 26th and Lexington, and his cell battery is fading, so he moves on. Craig Spitzer is CEO of Alliance. 7 employees, everyone thought to be in the building that morning, are missing. He cannot, will not, bring himself to believe they're gone.
I'm not going to say that to you right now.
You can't?
No, and I won't. And I won't for myself, and I won't for the people in there.
In there is a room full of people who have loved someone too long to give up so soon, and what's left after hope is unthinkable. It is why they agreed to expose this rawest of human times to the glare of the camera lens, because maybe somebody out there has information about Roland, something that will keep his brother moving.
I go to sleep with hope, I wake up with none.
And perhaps somebody saw Eric in a stairwell racing to safety.
We don't know. Maybe he's out there someplace, got hit on the head, and he doesn't know who he is. You know, maybe he's unconscious and he didn't have any identification on him.
And as it turns out, nobody can say for sure that Melissa was in the office for that 8:30 meeting.
I have to tell you, Craig, that's the best news that I could possibly hear, because what you're telling me is you can't confirm Melissa in that office space, and that's what I had to know. Yeah. That's what keeps me going.
So if you know anything about Melissa, call her father. He'd give anything to hear her holler at him again. Candy Crowley, CNN, New York.
People in the United States and around the world continue to mourn the loss of those killed in Tuesday's terrorist attacks. In New York, thousands of people are still buried in what was the Twin Towers. Some of them spent their final moments telling family and friends goodbye. Here is one such story from Austin, Texas. We apologize. The people in the United States and around the world continue to mourn the loss of those killed in Tuesday's terrorist attacks. In New York, thousands of people are still buried in what was the Twin Towers. Here is one such story from Austin, Texas.
My brother was probably the kindest, nicest person I ever knew. He was the best friend I ever had. The moment that the plane crashed into the building, he left me a message.
Hi, Casey, it's Chad. Something horrible is happening here. It sounds like an earthquake or typhoon, but everything's on fire. Casey, I know I'm about to die. Please tell Mom I love her dearly, and I love you and Jody too. Please forgive me for everything I've ever done to hurt you. I didn't think about the good times.
what happened when somebody bombed the World Trade Center. They didn't just bomb a building. They touched human lives, and he was a part of my life. And he was someone that I loved so much. And I know he loved me too. I feel like someone took something from me that never should have been taken from me, ever.
Nearly 5,000 people are believed to be still missing in New York as search and rescue efforts are ongoing. For friends and relatives looking for their loved ones, the focus of their search has been on the Manhattan Armory, where details of the missing are being registered. Michael Oakwood joins us now from there with the latest. Michael.
Relitza, you know, there's a sense of complete weariness and a sense of exhaustion that has gripped this city. So many people have shed so many tears. And in the coming days, no doubt, you will start hearing words and phrases that are used so often at times like this that they ring in your ears like cliches. Resolution, moving forward, a return to normalcy. But the fact is, for so many, many people, those friends and family members connected to those who were buried under the ash and rubble of the World Trade Center, they will not be returning to normalcy. They try to find some kind of resolution here at the Armory on Lexington Avenue and 26th Street. Here is the emotional ground zero. They essentially fill out a 7-page form where they are supposed to supply identifiable traits of their loved ones, everything from recognizable scars to the kind of nail polish they like to wear. Then they're either put on the list of bodies that were taken to the hospital or officially entered on the list of the missing. Since Thursday, 3,100 people have filed past these doors. Yesterday, the New York City Health Department announced the fact that a medical lab company by the name of LabCorp is offering free DNA collections, which could ultimately help rescue workers identify the bodies. They are asked to provide toothbrushes, hairbrushes, samples of saliva from the closest blood relatives, anything that might have been used exclusively by that person who is missing that might be able to help them connect something and therefore identify these people. Early last night, or late last night I should say, I spoke to a young woman whose godmother is missing.
This is the only way that they can identify, so we've come in with hairbrushes, toothbrushes. Her brother took a saliva sample for DNA, and everyone's willing to do anything, but it's just a matter of waiting.
While so many of us wonder what's next, obviously there are a few people out there who are still very much focused on perhaps what was. Relitza?
Michael, thank you. And we will have more of CNN's continuing coverage of America's new war at the top of the hour. For now, we leave you with images of heartbreak, healing, and hope. I'm Relitza Vasileva.
And I'm Jim Clancy.